see, what's today? August 29th, 2020. Movie of the week is Captain America Winter Soldier, released in 2014. I'm gonna let you kind of lead off with this one here and
Okay.
get into the introduction of this movie before we kind of get into the bones of it.
All right. Cool. Cool. So movie of the week, Captain America: Winter Soldier. This was the movie, in my opinion, that catapulted the MCU to the next era of filmmaking, quality filmmaking, and really helped cement the MCU as it pretty much pushed it into the next territory of high grade filmmaking and really it really made the superhero genre a formidable threat in terms of quality, and it wasn't just mere it's a superhero movie. It to me catapulted these superhero flicks into the according to the MCU into an actually high quality filmmaking outside of just the superhero genre. So you have Winter Soldier, which is basically one of the top spy espionage action movies of all time.
Yes.
Like no bullshit. Forget just the superhero genre. I'm talking about the genre itself.
Yeah.
Um, the way that they set this movie up, the plot, the twists, the turns, the you don't know who you can trust, the choreography of the action of the fight scenes was still very top notch. It still in some ways can't be topped in just one on one, no powers, just weapons, fists, fights, fists, knees, kicks. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really a top-notch film, and this is to me what really changed the narrative for Captain America because he was before this film he was just a boy scout. He was the man at a time. He was the one with the corny dad jokes. He was the guy who was the cornball version of the group, all that kind of jazz.
He was
So
there to do the right thing
right,
at all times.
right, which is boring to a lot of people. So this film gave him a dilemma. This film kind of really chopped it up and dwelled into Captain America as he is because this was a man who basically just followed orders and did the right thing, supposedly the right thing his whole life, his whole superhero career so far. This is when he started to actually question why was he doing these things? Why was he listening to these people? Why would I just take orders and not think about the repercussions of executing those orders. So this was the film that kind of dived into Captain America's depth a little bit. You can see how being living in this new age was kind of taking a toll on him.
Mm-hmm.
How he really wasn't really coping and adjusting to this new lifestyle. It's almost, it's like you enter the military and you enter the civilian sector after 10, 15 plus years. You're like, what the hell is this? This is what he was experiencing in this film. And the direction that the Russo brothers took with it was really, no one was really expecting it. No one was really expecting this film to be as good as it is. And it had no
Mm,
reason. It almost had no reason to be as good as it is to this date.
I agree.
Uh, for especially for a sequel, this was the film I was like, this is better than Iron Man. This is better than Thor. Like
Yeah.
this was damn near like it really changed the narrative of Captain America, and it paved the way moving forward of the quality of the films the MCU produced and helped it become this larger
Juggernaut.
juggernaut, this unstoppable juggernaut, because it wasn't just the characters now that people came to see. They came to
Mm-hmm.
see the movies because they were that damn good.
Oh man.
So yeah,
Oh
that
yes.
yeah,
Yes.
man. You got a Class A Nick Fury. This is probably the last performance of Nick
Ah.
Fury that was even relevant, but it was very good performance by Samuel L. All the actors were giving stellar performances. They actually made the Falcon, Sam Wilson, an interesting character, a
They made
character,
him. Yes. Yes.
yeah, a character that was pretty much the Robin to Batman, but to Captain America, a sidekick kind of lame dude, and they actually made him relatable. They made him have a personality. Fair to say, they did Sam Wilson better on film than they have on print.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think that's a fair assessment. I think
Mm-hmm.
that Anthony Mackie really brought life to the character where it really didn't have life on print.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Falcon fans. I'm just saying it how it is. Like Sam Wilson was a boring turd on
and
print,
and
you know.
and not only that, but it gave a lot of meaning to three words in the MCU that definitely came back strong towards the end of this particular era. On your left,
Yes, yes, dude.
on your left.
Yeah, they gave that such an iconic. Still to this date, you can see memes and people. You know, you run at the track, or whatever, and it has a different meaning now. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The payoff to that line was
Ah,
incredible, man. In fucking incredible in Endgame. This was kind of essentially Black Widow the movie as well. Before we got the
oh man, keep going, keep going, keep going.
yeah, man, this really delved into Natasha and gave her that relationship with Steve, where you can see how she has problems with interacting with people, interacting with other human beings, and how her training kind of really nerfed her and isolated her to the point where she isn't. It really kind of it showcased how she isn't just this normal. She isn't just a sexy, seductive, kick-ass spy. It gave her some layers of depth, but not too much where it took up too much time of the film.
Mm-hmm.
So it really was. This was kind of a Black Widow film as well. This is the most character development she's gotten of all the MCU movies. This was it, and from then
Okay.
on, she was good. She was cooking.
Yes. I agree with all of that. Now, some of the things that I was kind of think. Oh yeah, my bad. We didn't even get into Bucky Barnes. My bad.
Nah, you're good, man. Bucky Barnes was well done. No mystery that Winter Soldier was Bucky Barnes to anyone who's in the culture, but it really firmly established why Steve would go through all the lengths he did for the rest of the films to defend his best friend and essentially his brother. Ah, dude, the metal I never seen. I mean, not Colossus. Cable came out in Deadpool 2 with the metal arm, but Bucky did a lot better, man. No one is the Bucky has pretty much the best metal arm of all time in filmography. No one's touching that guy. The action sequences with him, Sebastian Stan did a killer job on Bucky on this film and made him more of a badass. Let's be honest, because in the first Avenger, he got captured and he was in a couple of the montage sequences with Cap, but it really didn't establish him really viable to the cast. And in this film, it did. Yeah, yeah, man. This laid the groundwork. This laid the groundwork for how good Infinity War, Endgame, Civil War, Black Panther, even to kind of show how good of a film these superhero movies can be in the MCU
Yeah, as standalones. Yes.
as standalones. Yeah.
So, all right. So some of the things that I was kind of thinking about as I sat through and watched it today, right? Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury. This is the most mileage that we've gotten out of Samuel Jackson playing that character.
No doubt.
And it's unfortunate but understandable as to why, because Samuel Jackson doesn't actually have to act in order to be Nick Fury. There's no reason for him to go into his bag as an actor because Samuel Jackson could be Nick Fury in his sleep if he really wanted to. And
Yeah,
there
definitely.
really isn't, aside from, well, not even aside, but like more or less, him being in these movies playing that character is just for him to elevate the character of Nick Fury. He's not actually having to work. in order to play that character because by this point, Nick Fury is synonymous with Samuel Jackson. But
No doubt.
for us to get insight into, and even if he didn't do much in this movie, the fact that he was the binding force between a lot of the characters in this movie was enough. You see
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Him being the binding force in this movie that brought some of these characters together. The danger and the vulnerability that Nick Fury was in, because up to that point, he was beyond reproach. Up to that point, we were led to believe that this character was untouchable. So seeing him being vulnerable and seeing the reaction that other characters had to him being vulnerable is something that brought them together along
Yeah.
the lines of what you were saying. Before that, we just knew that Black Widow was a skilled killer that had been through this extensive training and had a background in doing things that weren't necessarily good, but she was the best when it came to getting these things done. You didn't see her really humanized outside of a couple moments that she had with Bruce Banner in the first Avengers movie. You didn't really see her humanized on a personal level until after she believed that Nick Fury was dead. And I don't
Right.
think that it would have worked if Samuel Jackson didn't bring that level of credibility to that character.
Most definitely
Um,
not, man.
with with the character of Black Widow, like you were saying, I feel like we got a lot out of her in this movie as one of the side characters in here because her exposing herself to being more personable allowed Captain America to open himself up more and adjust to being that person who was from another time period. The same goes for the character of Falcon. I really enjoyed seeing the debut of Falcon in this movie. They put him over very strongly in this movie. He was not a sidekick, more so as I don't even think he was a sidekick personally in this movie. I think,
Partner. Partner is
hmm,
what you're looking for.
well, yeah, partner definitely. Um, because every scene that he was in, they did a great job of making you want to see him more. He was not overexposed at all in the way that they presented him in this movie. At
Uh,
all.
yeah. On a side note, a very stark contrast to Don Cheadle's War Machine. Just be real. I'm gonna just be real.
Oh,
I just had to say it.
that came out of left field.
Yeah. No, I mean, we were just talking about the sidekick partner
Yeah.
relationship. War Machine feels like a sidekick,
Okay. And
but
and
I
the
digress.
yeah, and the recasting of that character is something that also has to be taken into account as well. But we'll get into that on another episode. But yes, when you seen Anthony Mackie portraying Sam Wilson, the scenes where we got to actually see him, he didn't stay for too long, he didn't do too much, and it was enough to where you wanted to see him more after he was off screen, right?
Right.
He was competent, he was capable. You never got the feeling that he needed anybody to look out for him. So him being there was an enhancement because whatever Captain America was doing, you could argue that it wouldn't have been able to get done without the help of Falcon instead of vice versa. He was never presented in a way to where he was made out to be helpless.
Right.
Um, the character of Winter Soldier, I feel like they did that right as well. And with a lot of these characters, we went into a whole 30-minute discussion about some of these type of tough, rough around the edges, one note type of characters, but they did a lot right with the introduction of Bucky Barnes as the Winter Soldier because, and I can't even, I'm struggling to even put into words how they got it right, but they protected him enough to where when the reveal came, you weren't surprised, but you didn't roll your eyes at it.
Right.
You didn't roll your eyes at it because they didn't give you too much of the backstory. They alluded to it, they led you into the reveal, but by the time it came, it wasn't like, oh, well, I just wanted them to get that over with.
Right. It wasn't overdone.
Yes, whereas some other movies that kind of failed with the reveals would be like Star Trek when they revealed Khan, or Spectre when they did the reveal of Blofeld. Some of
Right.
those type, or even, and I mean, this might be a little bit of a reach, but even with Talia al Ghul in the last Dark Knight film, where it was just like, okay, let's just cut to the chase, let's just get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
In this instance, we wanted to see the reveal of the Winter Soldier as Bucky Barnes because even in the first Captain America, we weren't overexposed to that character. The relationship between Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes wasn't explored to the point where it was overdone by the time we actually got to see the reveal.
Yeah, exactly.
So and then let's get into this here as an action movie, as a spy espionage double cross type story that we want to tell. I agree 100% with what you were saying. Like I was getting vibes from like Enemy of the State with Will Smith back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The fight
Mm-hmm.
scenes. You know what I mean? Shout out to George St. Pierre, man. Like, you
Oh
know what I'm
yeah.
saying? The fight scenes, the elevator fight scene, man. He said, oh my he said, before we get started, does anybody want to get out?
oh, oh shit. That's the kind of shit that elevated Cap, bro. That was the kind of
Yeah.
shit like holy, like yeah. That
Yeah.
honestly was like the turning point. Was like, I'm picking Steve over Tony, man. Like that's man.
He said before, like, bro, even at the beginning, where, and I mean, I don't recall the character George St. Pierre played, but he said, I thought you were more than just a shield. You know what I'm saying? Cap
Mhm.
he went ahead, you know what I mean, threw the shield to the side, took the helmet off, and caught the fade.
Yeah, that was Batroc the Leaper, French fighter. Really silly character, but George St. Pierre nailed it down for the short little part that he had. He
Yeah.
delivered.
So, like you were saying there, those are the things that kind of put it over the top. Like, for the longest time, every action movie that kind of dealt and there was a lot of, oh man, I'm dancing around a little bit. Let me get back to what I was gonna say before I get into that. For the
All right.
longest time, like our era, growing up in the '90s, every action movie that dealt with gunfire, hand to hand combat, quick camera cuts, predating the Jason Bourne era of action movies, every action movie that was grounded and set in real life was more or less a derivative of Die Hard with Bruce Willis.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
had you had movies like Speed and a lot of those movies that fell in that line of that particular plot structure, right?
Right.
And then we had Jason Bourne that kind of brought on the era of the shaky cam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
headache
exactly.
inducing. I want to
The
throw up.
headache.
I
Yep.
can't see shit. Yeah.
The the
Shaky
the
cam.
shake the shaky cam, the rooftop jumping, a lot of those kind of things that were staples of action movies, kind of predating this particular film, and on its own, in terms of story and plot structure, I agree with you 100%. Captain America Winter Soldier is one of the best action movies that has ever been made because it did everything that it needed to do. And in addition to that, the twist of Hydra being embedded in Shield and everything like that, even if it wasn't something that was hard to predict, they set it up in a way to where, again, when the reveal came out, you weren't rolling your eyes at it and just hoping that they would get it over with. At the beginning of this year, we seen a movie, Bad Boys for Life, come out, where the reveal of the main villain in the movie being Will Smith's long lost son was telegraphed before it even happened. And
Yeah.
once it was revealed, you were rolling your eyes at it like, okay, we need to get this over with. We need to go ahead and just wrap this up, right?
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
So it's just telling that a movie that came out 6 years ago can still have that same kind of replay value on the merit of it being a good action movie, in addition to it being a good superhero movie.
Yeah, dude. Also, for the standalone film, this was the one with
Mm-hmm.
the highest stakes. Let's be
Mm-hmm.
real. This was the one with the highest stakes. I mean, you can look at Thor 2, okay, the world was going to be invaded by another dimension, but Iron Man 3 was more personal with the Mandarin.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Man 2 was a rival company. You know, this was Shield. This was a big deal. This
Right.
was this had big time ramifications for the rest of the rest of the MCU storylines. This was a big deal, and this was almost like shit. They should call the Avengers in on this. They should call, and that was a part of the drama. It was like, damn, Hawkeye and Hulk and Iron Man should be here. This almost seems too big for them to accomplish, but they finished it. You know what I'm saying? So that was a really good in terms of the drama for a standalone film. It was one of the best ones, and it continued that energy for Civil War, where the ramifications were even greater in that film. That
Right.
you didn't get that even with Thor Ragnarok. Like you didn't get that. Cap had the biggest ramifications for his solo films, and that might okay Civil War. You might say that's not really Cap. That was Cap featuring everyone, Cap featuring the Avengers, but still, nevertheless,
Yes.
there
But
were
there
still
were seeds.
consequences. Yeah.
Yep. And there were seeds that were planted in the Winter Soldier that manifested and played out in Civil War that gave reason for characters like Iron Man to actually be in the movie. And it's just
Exactly.
crazy. And the part of it that's really crazy is that I'm sure the original intention was not for Iron Man to even be in that movie, right?
No, it wasn't.
But the fact that there were already seeds planted to give Iron Man motivation to want to take down Bucky Barnes, meaning that it was personal because he killed his parents on behalf of Hydra
Mm-hmm.
before we even knew that that was like the level of detail that was placed within that movie, going off of continuity and everything like that, is still off the charts. And I think there's a lot of replay value there, a lot. And it exposed us to different layers of Captain America as well. Because, like you were saying before in the first Avenger, he was all for the mission. There was nothing. The motivation for Steve Rogers was to serve his country and make something out of his life, to make his life mean something, right?
Mm. Right.
So at the end of that movie, when he ended up being frozen and brought back, yes, as a man out of time, that's one thing. But in the Avengers, he was a man out of time that went straight into having a mission. And because the fate of the universe was at stake, nothing was more important than that mission. In
Mm.
this movie, there was a little bit of breathing room for us to see him live a little bit of life, but also operate within this organization of Shield that he put all of his trust into because he didn't have any other choice.
Yeah.
All he ever knew was getting back to the mission. So, and also with this being a lead into Age of Ultron, it makes me kind of look at that movie a little bit differently as well, because knowing that he just took down Shield as an organization, and then going in the Age of Ultron and that conflict that he had with Tony Stark of, hey, we don't need to be everywhere at one time. Even though the danger is always there, we need to be reacting to the danger instead, or we should be reacting to the danger instead of assuming and trying to pick out what the danger is. Those seeds got planted in this movie, The Winter Soldier,
Oh yeah,
and
most definitely.
and yeah, I think once we get a little bit of room, once we get a little bit of room, because there's still some things that are still fresh in terms of everything else, I really do think that we got to go back and view the Captain America series of movies as some of the best standalone films. And maybe this is a reach right now because we're doing movie of the week, but in terms of sequels, this has to be up there when we talk about sequels and in terms of quality. This has to be viewed as one of the best sequels ever.
Yeah, yeah. I know some people hold these other films in high regard, but if you just look at the quality from First Avenger to Winter Soldier, no disrespect to First Avenger, it did what it
Right,
had to do. It did what it had to
right.
do,
Absolutely.
you know. But the comparison and the quality and just the overall direction, it's day and night, man. And not many film trilogies can have the sequel and the third film be superior than the first. And
Absolutely.
and and, and I get it. It cheats a little bit because it has other films to help
So what?
help grow the characters.
So
But
what?
yeah,
That there's no written rule anywhere that says that that can't be used to enhance anything because we like they knew what they were doing, and the fact that they knew what they were doing before we knew what they were doing, like that goes beyond foresight, man. Like that's amazing.
right.
And honestly, I'm gonna say it. I think they went 3 for 3. They went I think they went 3 for 3 as it relates to movies that have that Captain America title attached
Mm.
to it. That might be debatable with some people for First Avenger, and I'm willing to deal with that. I wasn't the biggest fan of that movie when it first came out because it wasn't what I expected, but with a couple of years passing and knowing what it was they were trying to do, I'm okay with saying that they didn't miss anything with Captain America.
Yeah, it was
Now,
it was Wonder Woman prequel. Yeah.
yeah, they went 3 for 3. I think they went 3 for 3 with Cap. But
Yeah.
Winter Soldier is definitely a movie. If you're a fan of action movies and everything like that, fight scenes, and there's a lot of gunplay as well. Like
Hmm.
a
Oh
lot
yeah.
more a lot more gunplay than what you would expect for a MCU film. Like there's more people who end up dying as a result of getting shot in this movie than I think we seen in a lot of other movies that came out under that MCU imprint. Like our heroes in this movie are definitely catching bodies.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's just so creative, man, how they thought of okay, you have gunplay, you have hand to hand combat, you got one guy got a shield, you got a chick who's got gadgets, you got a guy who can fly and he can shoot.
Mm-hmm.
How can you mix that up so it seems plausible, it seems realistic, but also very stylish and entertaining as well. To
Right.
blemish those two together where you don't even like second guess like, oh, that was fake.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? There's not one moment like choreography wise where you're just like, wow, that was really out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Like it all blemished really nicely together. Those stuntmen should have got awards for that film, easy.
Yeah.
That fight choreographer should have got award for that film. Just like you said, top notch movie in general, not just the superhero genre, but top class action movie. The Hong Kong guys usually do it like the best, but this is the closest I've seen for an American production to come close to those Hong Kong kung fu films of
Right.
all eras. This is it.
Now, was it perfect? No. I'm not gonna say that it was perfect. My only real critique of this movie is that it came out in 2014. So, and there's one scene in particular, the scene with Peggy Carter, the scene where Steve Rogers goes to visit Peggy Carter when she's a
Uh-huh.
little bit older, and some of the aging technology and special effects that they put on the actress are a little bit shaky. Just a
Yeah.
little bit
I,
shaky.
yeah, it wasn't quite there yet. I agree.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree. It was just like,
a little bit shaky and a little bit uncomfortable to look at.
yeah,
Like they easily could have used some practical effects and maybe some makeup instead of using visual special effects. But yeah, because that's a little bit uncomfortable to look at. I ain't go front,
yeah, yeah,
man.
man. That shit was bright as hell. Like they didn't hide anything on that. That was pretty much
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and
I agree on that.
I'm only saying that because some of the aging and de-aging technology, like like for example a movie like The Irishman that came out last year, or even with the Rogue One, even though
Hmm.
they used it sparingly to make some of the characters look a little younger in there, like this movie predates some of that technology and some of those advances they made in special effects.
Oh
So
yeah,
my only critique there is that maybe you don't always need to use special effects to make a younger person look older. But aside from that, I don't really have a lot of critiques there. It ticks a lot of the boxes for action movies, and
mm,
the Nick Fury car chase scene early in the movie is top notch, man.
top
Like that.
notch.
Oh man, that yeah, dog.
They got Samuel L. Jackson in the action sequence where he literally sat down the whole time, and it still was, still was very intense and dramatic. And yeah, yeah,
If anybody listening, go ahead and if anybody that's listening, go ahead and watch Winter Soldier. Captain America Winter Soldier is top 5 MCU.
yeah. And I think this was the change of narrative when it came to Superman, and also I think Iron Man kind of being the number. This was when Cap kind of really entered that stratosphere, and I think Superman as this American icon to the masses was changing with the Winter Soldier release, and also the whole Team Iron Man, Team Captain America thing shifted in Steve's favor upon Winter Soldier's release. This was I remember going to theaters. I didn't even really want to see it, to be honest with you. I myself didn't really watch a lot of the standalone Marvel films besides the Iron Man trilogy. I just wanted this completely not expecting much and was like blown away. And then just watching the end credits with that patriotic music, taking a stand, it was just like the animation. It was really like it really was like, yo, Cap kicks ass. Like this is like it totally changed my mind on the character. It's like not just on film, but like on print too. Like it really changed my mind about the character itself. It really got me interested in the character, Winter Soldier. Definitely bona fide classic. Go check it out. Cop that Blu-ray disc. Cop that DVD before it gets locked in the Disney vault. And that's all I'm gonna say.
And last thing here, just to throw something else out there. Winter Soldier is everything Red Hood should have been.
Yeah, yeah. We'll definitely. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at